Hey man, it's really good to have you guys here. If you want to follow along, we're gonna be in Joshua chapter 4. I know that it kind of feels out of left field, but that's okay. I promise it'll all make sense by the time that we're done. So a couple of things, actually to get a couple of things out of the way. Um, hey, if you're a mom and a dad and you have kids sitting in service with you right now that normally don't sit in service with you right now, I want you to look at me. They're going to get squirrely. They may even make noise, but it's okay. It's not going to bother anybody, I promise. Okay? And if it does bother me, I'll tell you, and I'll just say, leave. Joe, I'm keeping my eye on you. he's waving at me. I'm just kidding. Listen, I know sometimes the anxiety that comes with having your young kids in service with you. It's okay. I promise. I really do. A couple of other things, just by way of announcements as we finish the year out, because one of the things right at the end of the year, you always have the end of the year. You know, the top 100 songs of the year, or the top 100 television episodes of the year. So today is going to be a little bit like that as we look at Joshua chapter 4. But one of the things that we're going to be launching, it's actually already started. So if you get the weekly email from Heather that comes in on Friday at like 5:30, and I know it comes in at 5:30 in the morning because my watch buzzes and it wakes me up to let me know that the email is here, which I appreciate. We're creating a Spotify playlist. So at the beginning of each month, we're going to update that playlist with the music that we're going to be singing for that month. And so you could subscribe to that Spotify playlist, and you can hear the songs that we're going to be singing. And maybe it might be new, but as you listen to it over the course of the month, it'll become familiar. And often what you'll find. Because I get access to the music before you guys do, is I start listening to it, and then I start anticipating when we're going to sing one of those songs. And then when she hits that first note or they sing that first line, I get really excited because I've been worshiping to that song all month long, and I get really excited. And so I think that you will find that will enhance your worship. Does that sound cool? And if you're going email, what are you talking about? Stop by the Connect wall at the end of service. We'll get you a connection card, and we will make sure you get the email. Joshua chapter 4, let's dive right in. We'll get going here. If you don't know what's happening in Joshua chapter 4, this is the culmination of Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers, and Deuteronomy. The people of Israel are now at the precipice of going into the promised land. Moses has died and gone, and Joshua has taken over, and they're getting ready to go in and take possession of the land that God promised Abraham, that we learned about this year during our Abraham series. And so they're literally like we are right now at the edge of 2023, or at the end of 2023, the end of this long journey, at the precipice of 2024, ready to step into the promises that God has for them. And this is what chapter 4, this is what's happening right now. So if you're unfamiliar, you've got a little bit of background. Chapter 4, Joshua, verse 1, and when all the nation had finished passing over the Jordan, so they've gone over the river Jordan, the whole nation is on the other side, the Lord said to Joshua, take 12 men from the people, one from each tribe of man, and command them, saying, take 12 stones from here out of the midst of the Jordan, from the very place where the priest's feet stood firmly, and bring them over to you and lay them down in the place where you will lodge tonight. Then Joshua called the 12 men from the people of Israel, whom he had appointed, a man from each tribe. And Joshua said to them, pass over before the ark of the Lord God in the midst of the Jordan, and take up each of you a stone upon his shoulder, according to the number of the tribes of people of Israel, that this may be a sign among you when your children ask you in time to come, what do these stones mean? Then you shall tell them that the waters of the Jordan were cut off before the ark of the covenant of the Lord. When it passed over the Jordan, the waters of the Jordan were cut off. So these stones shall be to the people of Israel a memorial forever. So here's what's happening, okay? So Joshua calls these 12 leaders from the different tribes. So like he would, for example, he would call Aaron from the Furrow tribe. And he would call Rob from the Morrow tribe, and he would call Rob from the Scott tribe, and you guys get what I'm saying, right? The 12 leaders of each tribe, and he brings them together, and he tells them what they're going to do, and so he begins to give them these instructions, and it's a little weird for us because we don't understand what's happening, because none of us have ever crossed a river en masse to take possession of a promised land from God. There's this talk about these stones. We're not sure what he means by it. And so what I thought I would do today is I reached out to some people in the church, and I thought I would give you a modern day example of what God through Joshua is instructing the men who's leading the different tribes of Israel to do. And it's the idea, and give me just a minute, don't do it yet. But so one of the things that we do at this time of year is we give gifts, right? Christmas, that's what we do. We give gifts. And I was going to have you guys tell everybody around you what your favorite gift was, but I decided not to do that. But I'm going to tell you what my favorite gift of this year was. And my favorite gift this year was in the form of a picture book. You know, you go to like, what are the picture sharing websites? Shutterfly, thank you. And you upload your pictures, and then you can make a book with them. We got one this year. So back in September or October, Becky and I were fortunate enough, we got to go on an Alaskan cruise with her two brothers and their spouses in Lois and Basil, my in-laws. And we were taking pictures all week, and Becky and I didn't take very many pictures. Most of the pictures that I'm going to be honest, most of the stuff that I took were like nature shots and videos for next year's graphics. I was thinking like 2024 sermon series, and like I wasn't taking like memory pictures. So when Becky and I went to go upload our stuff, we didn't have many of those, and so all we had were these snapshots in our head. Well, the gift that we got from Lois and Basil this year was one of those picture books. And it was chronologically by day, and so then you could look, and while we didn't take pictures, everybody else did, and so they got shots of Becky and I that we didn't have of ourselves, and so we were able to flip through this book and look at memories. And so I sent out an email to some people this week, and we got some. Put the first one up. And just some pictures of families in the church. And my instructions were pretty simple. I said, hey, I just want pictures of your family. They don't have to be posed. They don't have to be anything like, any significant or anything like that. Could go to the next one. And so we got like lights, right? Bottom left, there's a significant one, right? That's the one I want you guys to notice. See this? That's Rob and Shelley. Their daughter got married this summer. That's a significant photo, isn't it? They can look back at that, and they can remember. We got a picture of Julie and the kids at the hot air balloon. Go to the next one. Oh, no. Go back to that one. My favorite picture in the whole thing, I titled it Fire Dad. Dude, look at that picture in the top right. Is that not like the most beautiful picture you've ever seen? Like, I love that picture. Go to the next one. Well, one of the events that we had here at Mill Creek, me setting up chairs with a bunch of kids. I'm not sure who took that picture. Our greeting team. Okay, so back to the graphic, and everybody look back at me. We're done with the pictures. Pictures today are the same thing that Joshua tells the guys, the leaders of the tribes, to go into the River Jordan and pick up the stones. So the last verse that I read, he says that these stones will be a memorial forever, right? He says that. And so when they go into the river, each of the dads of the different tribes, and they pick up this stone and they carry it out of the River Jordan, and they put it down, what they're placing, it's their version of a picture. We go back, and Rob and Shelley will pull up the wedding album, and they'll see that picture, and they'll remember all the good things that happened. They'll remember the thing that went sideways that day that they didn't plan for, the person that was late, or the caterer that didn't cook the right food, or whatever it was. And they'll remember all of the things about that day. And their daughter, who was married, and her husband, when they have kids, and they'll have kids one day, their kids will go through the wedding, the photo albums, and they'll look at those pictures. It's an intuitive thing that God started back in Joshua that we picked up on today. Like, for example, Facebook does it for us all, right? You get that notification. Hey, look at this memory from 10 years ago. Anybody get those? And you look back at them, and you open the picture, and you're like, oh, that's so cute. And then the kids go, what's so cute? And they come running over so they can look at your phone, right? That's what's happening here. And the reason that God has the people of Israel do that is because it's necessary for them and for you and I to remember everything that God has done for them up to this point. He doesn't want them to forget because he understands how the human mind works. We often, and I told the worship team this morning as we were talking, often we let our circumstances define our value. So if our circumstances are bad or negative, then we feel a personal negative value in our life. If we have an argument with our spouse, and it gets in a knockdown, drag out fight, whatever that looks like in your family, we have a tendency to let that situation, that negative situation, determine our value as people. And it goes actually against what God says. I read to the team this morning, Deuteronomy 28:13, where God says, I'll make you the head and never the tail. We let our circumstances define who we are instead of letting God define who we are. And so what God is doing in this moment for the people of Israel is they gather these stones and they put them in this memorial, this mound, whatever it is. He's setting up some circumstances for them there where they can look and they can see and they can remember what God has done for them. We're going to skip part of the chapter 4, and we're going to jump to verse, man, that number's so small I can't even read it, 19. So it'll be on the screen. But if you're following along, it's 19 in a Bible. So Joshua's told just the men. Only the men know what's happening at this point. And then we get to verse 19, and Joshua does something interesting. So the people came up out of the Jordan on the 10th day of the first month, and they encamped at Gilgal, on the east border of Jericho, and those 12 stones which they took out of the river Jordan, Joshua set up at Gilgal. So the guys carry the stones out. Joshua takes them, puts them into a mound, or we don't know exactly what it means. And then in verse 21, look at this, verse 21. I don't know if you underline, but this might be one that you underline. And he said to the people of Israel, just comma, but just stop there for just a second. Not only is it necessary that you remember all that God has done for you, it's necessary that you tell others what God has done. So Joshua just tells the 12 men, right? He just tells the 12. This should sound familiar. Anybody read the Gospels lately? Jesus tells the 12, right? And then what does he tell the 12? He said, go tell everybody else. Joshua's modeling it here in Joshua thousands of years before Jesus shows up on the scene. Now, like the Old Testament and the New Testament, they're connected. It's important to read and study both. Joshua gets to the 12 and he tells them, then he gathers all of the people and he tells them what's going on. And he said to the people of Israel, when your children ask their fathers in the time to come, what do these stones mean? Then you shall let your children know Israel passed over this Jordan on dry ground. For the Lord your God dried up the waters of the Jordan, for until you passed over it, as the Lord your God did at the Red Sea, which he dried up for us until we passed over. So all of the people of the earth may know that the hand of the Lord is mighty, that you may fear the Lord your God forever. It is necessary that you tell others what God has done. It's absolutely vital. Like, right, the reason that we tell stories is so that other people can know. There's a reason that Jesus taught in parables. There's a reason that I always have a story at the beginning, or at the beginning of service, or at least at some point in the service. It's an analogy. Stories are an intuitive way for us to explain the things that God has done for us. Right, you lay out the circumstances in your life, and I started to pray, and then this happened, and God showed up, and then somebody's like, well, it just kind of worked out for you, and then you go, well, maybe it worked out once for me, but then there was this other time that this circumstance happened, and then I started praying, and God showed up, and he answered. Well, that could happen. You got lucky. Well, no, because there was this other time that we were praying and we were trying to figure it out, and we couldn't figure out what to do, and we didn't know how it was going to happen, and we had this thing, and it was overwhelming, and it was impossible. We had no idea what we were going to do, and then God showed up. And they're like, well, okay, so, but then you start to think about, well, I went through this thing, and then sometimes we struggle, right, with why we're going through something. Anybody ever struggle with why you're going through something? You go, God, why me? Listen, y'all, look at me. The reason that you go through something today, it's twofold. One is to form you more to the image of Christ. He's using whatever it is to make you more like his son, and also he is using it so you can be a part of somebody else's life. That thing that you're going through, that struggle, the thing that threatens to overwhelm you, that you're like, how in the world is God ever going to use this? I promise you, in the years to come, you're going to walk into somebody's life, or somebody's going to walk into your life, and you're going to go, I know exactly what you're going through because I went through that very thing. Storytelling is a powerful thing. You want to know how powerful storytelling is? There's research that was done by a university, and I did the research a couple of months ago. I don't remember the university. I think it was the University of Copenhagen. And what they started to do is they wanted to test this, and so they had fathers read stories to their kids. One, which I think is just really cool, dads that read to their kids. But what they would do is they would measure the breathing rate and the heart rate of kids as they listened to the stories that their dad read. Different languages, different continents, different times. And what they discovered is that the children's heartbeat and their breath rate started to show equality. Their heart started to beat on the same rhythm. That's a pretty powerful thing. So the science would say that as we tell stories to one another, we begin to connect with one another. Our bodies produce hormones and chemicals that connect us with the storyteller and give us a bond that we didn't have before. So there's probably a warning there for you. You should be careful who you let tell stories to you. But what better way to bond and connect with somebody than to tell them what God has done in your life? It's super valuable. It's super important. We don't discredit what God has done. We tell other people. And when the time comes, no matter how painful it is, whatever that thing is that you've gone through, and God allows you to speak into somebody else's life, you speak into somebody else's life with the reality that it may tear the scab off that wound, and it may hurt. But we trust and we know that God has a plan and a purpose. There's a third group of people here that Joshua he's telling the people of Israel what they need to do. He says, in future times, when your children ask, what do these stones mean? You can tell them, right? So let me find that verse. Verse 21. And we said to the people, when your children ask their fathers in times to come, so we're talking about future generations that don't know. We're talking great 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 generations down the road. They weren't there. When they ask their fathers in times to come, what do these stones mean? Then you shall let your children know. Israel passed over the Jordan. So not only is necessarily what God has done, sometimes we forget to tell our own kids what God has done. You have to tell your kids what God is doing in your life as a family. And sometimes, y'all, that may mean that we have to share some of the ugly parts of our life with our kids. Now, I'm not saying that your kids should be your confessors. That's not what I'm saying at all. But is right, let me talk to daddies real quick. Dads, we have a tendency to carry everything on our own, right? We want to protect our kids. We don't want to let them know anything negative's happening or bad or anything like that. We want to protect them. And how are they going to know that God moves if we don't tell them what's going on? Why would we rob them of the opportunity to pray for whatever circumstance or situation's happening in our family's life? They don't need to know all the details, but you could certainly let them know something. And hey, guys, we need to pray. We need God to move in whatever situation it looks like for you. We need God to show up. So here's all you got to do. Joe, Bert, can I use you guys? Like, sure. So Burke tells Joe, hey, man, had a rough month at work. He didn't need to know any other details other than it's been a rough month at work. That's it. We're protecting him a little bit, but we're bringing him into it. And then we can say, hey, Joe, I need you to start praying. and you start praying for something other than a Philadelphia Eagles win. Love you, man. I couldn't let it go. And so Joe starts praying for Daddy. God, I don't know what's going on, but I know Daddy's had a rough month at work. Can you be with Daddy? Can you just help him at work today? And God shows up and he moves, and then Bert goes, hey, Joe, let's go to lunch. And he puts him in the truck, and they go get lunch, and he goes, hey, remember like a month ago when I asked you to start praying? And he goes, yeah, man, I've been praying. Hey, guess what God did this week? And he gets to share with him what God did. Man, it's not only strengthened Bert's faith, but man, look what it does for Joe. And you have an opportunity to do that with your kids. You have an opportunity to bring them in and invite them along in the journey. Help them grow in their own faith, not just in mom and daddy's faith, in their own faith. Let them be a part of praying and asking. So at the sake of being redundant this morning in the time that we have left, can I share some memorial stones from Middleton Grace 2023? Can I do that with you? I heard one person say yes, so I'm going to take that as permission. I know it's more than this. By my count, at least, I know of at least 5 people that met the Lord through the ministry of Middleton Grace directly this year. I led with that, and I thought you guys would clap. I thought that was pretty good. Thank you. Smattering of applause. At least 11 people baptized through the ministry of Middleton Grace and or ministries that we support. I know of over 65 people that have been in life groups this year. We've got over 40 people in regular Bible studies. We've end-of-year giving, so I don't know if you guys know this, but so all of the money that comes into Middleton Grace, which I think that's a memorial stone. Praise to it was a standalone church. We met budget this year. We'll give you more information at the business meeting in March, but what we projected came in. You guys gave more than what we thought you were going to give, and we spent less than we thought we were going to spend. And so we're ending the year on a huge positive note. But 10% of everything that you guys give, we turn around and give back out to other ministries. And so a ministry that you guys might not have heard of, but you're going to hear a lot of this next year, called Be a Gobi. Toby Slough, my mentor pastor, we were able to bless them with end-of-year giving to help their ministry. He'll be here in March doing a time of speaking on mental health with high school students and their parents. He'll also be teaching on Sunday morning here. Y'all, I'm going to be like a kid in a candy store. I don't even know I'm going to be able to introduce him. I'm going to be so excited, y'all. He's the coolest guy I know. Mission, Hope and our World Vision. I don't know exactly what we did. I think we gave some animals. Marianne, what did we do? Actually, I didn't hear that. So can you come up here real quick? Come on. It was my trick to get you up here. Cooper, I'm going to turn on microphone number 2. What do we do for them?
We gave
Yeah, give them out.
We gave $2,000 to World Vision end of the year fundraising that they were due, which was doubled. They said everything that came in this month would be doubled.
And then we gave, how much did we give? So Middleton Fire Department, their burnout fund to help families whose houses burned down. What did we gave money to them?
We gave $1,000 to that.
$1,000 to that. And this is in addition to all of stuff that we've given over the course of the year. So Middleton Young Life, you support on a monthly basis, whether you do it individually or not. When you give to the church, you support. Thanks, but don't go anywhere. I might be in trouble now. So you guys know who this person is? Yeah, Marianne. I think a lot of us think that she's on staff here at church, and she's not, just so you guys know. I think there are a few families that have been here since the beginning, or at least close to the beginning. The Dornaballs are like the first. I like the pictures of, when we launched 7 years ago. There's a picture in the living room. Marianne and I are huddled over our phones trying to figure out what we were going to do. It's a stone. I love it. And so I got together with the board this year, and I said, hey guys, I want to do something. Let's talk about it. And the second it came up, just so you guys know, so Marianne's husband John is on the board. He's the chair of the board, and he recused himself from this conversation. He didn't want to be a part of the conversation, so he stepped out of the room. We actually kicked him out of the board meeting, and I think they went on a little 35-minute coffee date she was probably sweating and getting nervous and worried. But the board and I got together, and so we want to start something. We're going to start a memorial stone. This year, this will be the first time we've ever done it, and we're going to do it every year. And I don't know what to call it other than volunteer of the year. And it really is volunteer of the last 7 years, because Marianne does a lot. I just get pointed in the right direction. They give me a microphone and they say, speak for like 30 minutes. And Marianne organizes the rest of it. And she's built up her team over the last 7 years. And I acknowledge that there are a bunch of people that do a bunch of things, but the board wanted to get together and we wanted to acknowledge Marianne publicly and the work that she does. And so we have a small gift for you. It's not much, but we wanted to say thank you. And then publicly, I just wanted to give you an applause. Go sit down. I'm going to hear about that in our lead team meeting on Tuesday. That's okay. We started a Middleton youth group. We're averaging like 17, 20 kids at our Middleton youth group every other week. That's been an exciting time. We meet on, is it this, I don't even know. See, this is how bad I am. This is why I need people. We meet on first and third Sunday. The time is going to change. It's going to be 5:30 to 7 moving forward. Grace Kids, if you were here yesterday or last week and you saw all the kids, like we're averaging 60 plus kids back in Grace Kids, man, that is amazing what God is doing. It is unbelievable what God is doing back in Grace Kids. Diana Furrow, who is our Next Gen director, is filling in the role as the Grace Kids coordinator. So she's actually filling 2 roles right now. She has been since Kelsey got called into a different ministry full time. And we thank Kelsey for her service for a couple of years as our Grace Kids coordinator. But so are we talking about dads not protecting their kids from stuff and letting them in? Can I do that for just a second? I'm not going to protect you. We need a Grace Kids coordinator. We're desperate for somebody to step up and be a part of the team that's willing to organize and pour into our Grace Kids volunteer and to lead that department. You don't have to do it all. We got people that'll coach you and will walk alongside you, but we need somebody else. The danger is that we're going to push Diane into burnout, and we can't do that. And so we need somebody to step up. So you can add that to your prayer list. Okay? You guys do that? You'll make that commitment with me and pray? Okay. At the sake of going on too long, because I'm looking at my watch, here's what we're going to do. You may have noticed as you were walking in the stage, and if you didn't notice, you're noticing now. At the front of the stage here, I've got rocks and Sharpie pens. I don't have enough for everybody. But what we're going to do today, we take pictures, but we are going to take our own memorial stones. And so what I want to do is I want one per family. So you can take the person that you want, or the whole family can come up. I don't care how you do it. You're going to come up and you're going to select a stone. Oh, and there's Sharpies here, and I want you to take a Sharpie, and I want you to write whatever it is that God did this year. It could be a blessing. It could be an amazing thing. It could be the hardest thing you've ever gone through in your life. We're going to make a memorial stone. And then what I want you to do is take it home and maybe get some lacquer or something and spray over it so you can protect the writing. And then you can put it in your garden. You can put it on your mantle. You can put it somewhere. And as you walk by, you can remember what God did this year. And as you have people over to your house for dinner, they go, hey, what's the deal with the rock on your fireplace mantle? You're like, oh, let me tell you what God did in 2023. Let me tell you what he did. And so at the sake of everybody getting up once, I don't care. It's going to be mass confusion. I want literally every family to stand up, and I want you to walk up here, or you can send one person to come get a stone and a pen, and I want you to write down what God did for you. I'm going to quit talking, so if you guys don't start moving, it's going to be really awkward. And you don't have grace all the time to do this. This could be your first Sunday, I don't care. Make sure you grab a pen so you can write on it. Oh, don't crawl up on stage. Just one per family, one per family. Hey, John, behind that curtain in a plastic bag are more Sharpies. Can you get more Sharpies? They're in the boxes right there. Grab a Sharpie. Write down on your stone. We're going to take a couple of minutes. We're going to do it right now. Everybody got stones? All right. I want you a minute, take 30 seconds, whatever, and I want you to write down that thing, that memorial stone. There might be bigger rocks over here. No, they're not much bigger over here. I don't know. Like, this might be this could be a really cool tradition maybe that your family starts. How cool would it be for whatever we're writing down on this stone for 2023, I don't know, 30 or 40 years from now when I die, if not sooner, not to be morbid, at the end of the year, but I pass on to my kids a box of rocks, and on each rock is written that thing that God did for me for that year. And it's a memorial stone so they can tell future generations what God has done. That's what we're doing. You're writing down a memorial stone so you can acknowledge what God has done in your life this year, the way that he's moved, the things that he's done, the difficulties that he's seen you through, and the difficult things that he is still seeing you through. We serve a God that's not done. Would you stand and continue to sing with the team?